Hello again, and welcome back to Illegally Cited. This is Jesse, aka BGFH, and I am back for a kind of another combination channel update and event video. This time, the main topic for today is going to be talking about my thoughts of WWDC so far, mainly the keynote and what was covered there. So that'll be the main topic for this video, but I also have a couple of things about the channel and such that I also want to touch on really quickly at the beginning. So, right now I'm going to use this game. It's called House Flipper as the background for this video, just for you guys give you something to watch. I've recorded the video, but I haven't actually unlocked the spotlight video for this game. To give you a quick rundown of what's going on, basically right now we are in first person here. I've arrived at this this person's house, and this game is a House Flipper. It's a combination of, like, the overall concept of this game you think would be really dumb or like just really boring, because especially like in real life I hate doing housework and things. But there's something kind of just oddly relaxing about this game. Basically, it's a combination of you are a handyman of sorts. You take jobs from people. Maybe they want you to help repair stuff, install things into their home, clean, paint, all kinds of different things. This one basically, this person wants us to repaint their house because I forget, one of their family members is. Their cousin, I think, is like this super artist and has kind of painted their house with all these kind of really loud and artistic colors. And so they're like, no, let's bring this back down to earth a little bit. And so I've kind of did a little prep work for the video, so all we got to do is just, mindlessly paint. I've put the paint cans in the different rooms, so we'll kind of take care of that. But I mean, look at this. Yellow and white, kind of got these weird irregular stripes going on. Got a bright red entryway. Got our dark kind of living room, kitchen combo. There's this bright green kids' bedroom. So yeah, we got a little, and there's nothing in the basement to do, I don't think, at least as far as painting goes. So we're just going to be doing some of that. You can actually get to watch paint dry for the video. Okay, stupid joke aside. Anyway. So before I talk about WWDC, I do want to give you guys a quick channel update or two, and I want to ask you guys for another favor, if I could. So as far as the channel goes, last I looked, we were literally just under 1,100 subscribers. So let's just say that we've probably passed that threshold. At this point, we'll just assume that we have. Maybe we haven't, but hey, we're close enough. So again, boom, we hit 1,000 not very long ago. I'd have to look and see when that video was out, but it couldn't have been more than a month or two, probably a couple months ago tops. So yeah, the channel is growing. We're getting more subscribers, getting more views. I'm getting referenced by a few people on Twitter. For things like virtual reality accessibility, game accessibility, and that kind of cool stuff. So, yeah, thanks a lot for the likes and the subscribes, the comments, the suggestions. Thanks for all that, and thanks for the following on Twitter at BGFH79. By the way, if you have not followed me on Twitter, you can feel free to do so at BGFH79. So yeah, you can follow me over on Mixer. I have just started that interesting aspect of gaming, trying to do a little game streaming. I've done a couple of them so far, and overall it's gone pretty well, and I'm kind of enjoying it. So we'll see how that goes. Definitely, I have tons of videos already recorded for you guys that I just have to release. Tons of content that's coming out that I want to record or that I'm going to record, of games and hardware reviews and, of course, E3 events and all kinds of stuff. And just FYI, definitely check out, not exactly quite sure when, but later this month, probably mid to late June, you're going to maybe want to tune into the Blind Bargains podcast, as I have been, thank you guys, I have been invited by Mr. Steinkamp over there. I've been invited to join him and the crew for a kind of E3 game accessibility follow-up video. I was on, if you weren't aware, I was actually on the podcast around Labor Day last year, so I want to say it was like episode 113 or something like that. I know it was right around, I think it was like shortly after Labor Day, so you want to hear my past conversation with them on game accessibility, VR accessibility, that kind of a thing. Definitely check that out, and like I said, I should be on it. I think we're going to be recording next week after Nintendo does its little live presser event video thingy on Tuesday, so look forward to that in the next couple of weeks or so. And regarding the channel, so this is where I'm going to ask you guys something. Well, actually kind of two questions. One I've already asked, but one is a new thing. So the one that I already asked, I asked you guys on Twitter, and I think I put it in a different video as well. I'm thinking of changing the accessible game spotlight videos, like iOS and PC accessible game spotlight videos, per a suggestion by a user, to no vision spotlights. So we have low vision and no vision spotlights. And like I said, I'm really thinking about doing it, unless people have like a massive, unless they really, really don't want that. Like, okay, no, that's just really stupid. I kind of want to do that, though, as I said in an earlier video, because accessible doesn't just mean blind accessible, low vision accessible. There, especially with the way that game accessibility is starting right now, or is really starting to really catch on, you have people with mobility impairments, learning impairments, dyslexia, color blindness, hearing impairments, whatever, intellectual thing, whatever. So when, other people are going to start looking more for, hey, I want to find some accessible game content. So if that's the case, I don't want to just say that, oh, hey, my channel is covering accessible games. Yeah, it is. It's covering it for blind and low vision players, sure. But I don't want to mislead those people either, and anyone else either. So I'm thinking about making that change probably when I have, sometime within the next month or so, unless there's any major objections. I'm probably thinking about doing that when things slow down a little bit, because the next couple of weeks for me are kind of chaos. So yeah, there is that. So, unless anyone has any major objections, let me know. But otherwise, I'm really thinking about making that change here sometime in the near future. Of course, there are some pre-recorded videos already that are still going to be accessible game spotlight videos. But, just like before, we'll just roll with it, and anything I record in the future that is for one of those types of things may start using that no vision spotlight thing. So, this is the main question that I have for you guys before we get into WWDC, is I'm working on, kind of partly for a project for work, but partly for personal reasons and for the channel as well. I'm actually trying to find out, like, if you are a low vision user and if you do use a tablet, a phone, but especially a tablet, if you use a tablet and you do use some sort of magnification app, what do you find, which ones do you use? Which ones do you find most clear? Which ones do you find most helpful? Ideally, I would love to find some other recommendations in addition to the ones I know about for apps that will not just do the magnification, but maybe, support at the very least inverted colors, so I can get a dark background, light text. Maybe there's some apps that have actually other color modes, blue and yellow, yellow on black, whatever it happens to be. I could look for that kind of a thing as well. And I'm looking for both Android and iOS, because remember, I do have the Samsung Galaxy Tab S3, and I do have the iPad Pro. I just found a piece of hardware that I'm hopefully going to do a hardware review again when things slow down and it's not as chaos. I want to record that video. Basically what I found is it's a little more on the expensive side, but when you see it, I think you're really going to like it. I found one heck of a nice, versatile tablet stand, and it works in a variety of different ways. And I've tried it some at work already, and I ordered one for myself because I'm like, you know, this actually could be kind of useful, not just for using camera-based apps, but just using a tablet in general. And you'll see why when I cover the video. So I'm going to leave you guys in suspense. I'm going to let you guys think about which one it might be. Probably one you've never actually heard of before. So yeah, we get to look at that in the semi-near future. But what I'm trying to do, what originally brought this on, is one of the recent trends is there are a couple of tablets out there that are in the traditional assistive technology market, and they're good. You know, I like them. They're decent. The main problem that I have, though, with them is that basically, I mean, what it seems to me, and like I said, what they do generally pretty well. But they've taken Android tablets and basically made their own home screen. So they made their own launcher, essentially what it seems like. And then on top of that, like some tablets more than others, they might restrict, like, okay, this is the part of Android that you can see, or this is the thing that you can do. And then they have an app for, let's say, magnification, or for, you know, OCR or distance viewing or whatever it happens to be. There's a couple, you know, blind/low vision type of apps. The problem that I sort of have, and I understand that, you know, totally understand that there's some research and development and things like that that have to go into it, but you're basically getting a Samsung tablet most of the time, which are nice tablets. And then you're getting some, you know, this app combination, and you're kind of looking at like $3,000. And my thought is if we could get a iOS or Android app, or both, I would love to find an app that does it really clearly, especially with this stand. I found the stand, and then the other piece of it is they have like a 3D printed or some kind of a manufactured stand. I found like I said, found a pretty damn nice stand that would work probably for a lot of cases. And now I just have to basically find the software that'll go around with it. So if I use, like I said, iOS or Android, if I can find something that will clearly, you know, at least be pretty dang comparable to these Magnifier apps, you could probably do a similar type of thing, especially as the cameras in these devices improve. Like your iPad Pro has a camera flash. Your Samsung Galaxy Tab S3 has a flash. I want to be able to find some apps that can use those cameras clearly enough and maybe have some of the features that, okay, it might be 95% or so comparable to, you know, like a full-fledged accessible CCTV. But maybe for people who already have, I mean, you know, yeah, what if I have one of these tablets, or, you know, what if I already have an iPad? What if I have an Android tablet? What if, you know, I have any of those things? I don't want to buy another redundant tablet for another, not only do I not want to buy another tablet, but spend like $2,500, $3,000 for the privilege, you know, when I know they cost between, let's say, $500 and $800. Which is what I ran into. I own several tablets already, so why do I want to spend that much on something else? And so for especially people like that, or maybe people who are on somewhat of a budget, and if they can afford a cheaper tablet and an app or two, could I find something that would work for those people, a combination that would actually work pretty well? So maybe even, you know, even if I cut the price in half. kind of looking at that sort of thing. So it'll kind of make more sense when I cover the stand for you. And think about, you know, my magnifying apps video, like the video I did a while back, the CCTV magnifier apps revisited and such. I did that a couple years ago, thinking about doing an updated volume, especially if I get more suggestions from you guys. So let me know, please let me know if you are a low vision user. Do you use magnification apps? And if so, what are they? You know, let me know in the comments. Hit me up on Twitter at BGFH79. Hit me up, let me know, and we will see what we can do. So enough about that. I know I rambled about the channel a lot more, but you know, like I said, there are really interesting things I do want to cover. So on to the next thing, mainly WWDC. So Apple did their usual keynote on June 4th, Monday. I'm recording this on Tuesday. This is more than likely going to be the Wednesday video for this week. And overall, kind of like last year, I remember coming away from WWDC last year, I was pretty underwhelmed. I'm like, well, that keynote kind of sucked. And I was kind of, you know, I had talked about it on YouTube. I talked about it on Twitter a little bit. But the more that I found out, you know, once I heard the things that weren't talked about in the keynote, you know, there were some pretty nice, pretty big things in iOS 11. You know, we had the Smart Invert, which is actually what really prompted me to download the beta for my iPad for iOS 11, because I really needed to see how that worked. And it's gotten a little bit better, but it's, you know, it still definitely has its issues. And the other thing was the screen capture, you know, directly integrated into iOS 11, the screen capture feature. So, you know, things like that. They didn't mention anything about that or any accessibility things at last year's WWDC. And they really didn't do that this year either. So, you know, as we learn more later on, you know, maybe I'll get excited about a specific feature or two that I don't yet know about. But there are some things to talk about that they did announce at WWDC. So I have a few notes that I've taken down. This isn't a comprehensive list. These are just my impressions for what stood out to me at WWDC this year at their keynote. So keep that in mind. If you want something really comprehensive, there are excellent summaries, just an overall. But I'm gonna, you know, think about this from a blind/low vision user's perspective, which you're generally not going to get on your mainstream tech sites and videos. So here we go. We're going to start by talking about iOS. But before I do, I want to mention one thing. Simply the fact that I really kind of think that Apple is just starting to troll us iOS users. I really got to wonder. Because one of the first things they actually announced when they started talking about the Mac later in their presentation, they're like, oh, hey, you guys get a dark mode. What have I been saying on Twitter the last couple of years? What have I been saying on the YouTube channel for the last couple of years? I want a dark mode. Smart Invert is nice to a degree, but there's some jank. You know, like if I could just have a dark theme, it would be fantastic. They have it on the watch. They have it in some areas. Like if you pulled, again, I showed you, like if you pull down the spotlight search on iOS, it's a nice inverted or dark color theme. The watch app, there's a few other places that have it. The Mac is getting a dark mode for a lot of their things, but no mention of iOS whatsoever for a dark mode. So it's like everything but, you know, the iOS devices are basically their bread and butter right now. That's what's making them the most money. And they're just trolling us. It's like, see, we're going to give everybody else the dark mode, but not you guys. I don't know if they're going to maybe save that, and maybe I'm not going to hold my breath, but maybe we'll get some sort of weird, you know, announcement during their regular fall phone, iPhone event that they're inevitably going to do. But I just had to get that get that off my chest, because it's like, really? You purposefully mention it here and then nothing for iOS. So speaking of iOS, one of the main things that I'm looking forward to, I mean, they're not focusing on a lot of whiz-bang features this year. They're really kind of going back, kind of like what they did with iOS 10, as people suspected. They're going to be focusing more on fixing bugs and making performance improvements. They talked quite a bit about performance improvements, trying to get even older devices, performance to maybe go 30, 40, 70% in some cases. And the nice thing with iOS 12 is that they said any device, right up front, they said any device that can run iOS 10 or iOS 11, any device that can run iOS 11 can run iOS 12. And that goes all the way back to the iPhone 5S. So that's, that's several years old. At least 4 or 5 years old now. So yeah, if you have an older device and you really want to hang on to that thing a little bit, you may be able to do so for a little bit longer, and that's actually a really nice thing. And they took a really cheap shot at Android, which in a way I think they actually deserve, because that's one of the key things that frustrate me. iOS comes out with an update, we get it right away. Android gets an update, you might get it within the next 6 months to a year, if at all, depending on whether they want to support your device via the carrier or your phone carrier or your device manufacturer. I finally just got my Android 8 Oreo update this past weekend for my tablet. So, they're like, oh yeah, Android or they didn't say Android specifically, but they're like, oh yeah, well, the other guys, they're lucky if they get 7% on their latest version of their OS. And they do have a point. Like I said, that's frustrating. So they got performance improvements. They talked a lot about that. They want to also double down on security. So they have this kind of lockout feature, where, I'm trying to remember the specifics. It's it disables USB. If you haven't signed into your device, it'll disable USB features. You can charge it, but you can't actually do any connectivity thing. So if somebody swipes your device and then they can't actually just they can't just root it, or they can't just recover it and then sell it on their own. It makes it a lot harder for them to do that kind of a thing. So there's there's going to be some security stuff, security updates and things like that. Let me take a peek at my little notes that I got going on here. So I talked about, better performance. They also focused a lot on what they call digital health. And that's basically trying to get people to, some people just, they're addicted to their devices. And addicted, they're just every second they have to be doing something. You can't hold a conversation with somebody sometimes, it seems. So they're doing they're copying Android again a lot, where they're putting features into iOS 12 where you can track how much you're using your device, how often you pick it up, what do you do when you do that. You can break it down by app. How much am I using a specific app? There's all kinds of different tracking things. You can set limits for, let's say, I only want to use this app or this phone, my device, this many hours per day, and it'll give you these, periodic, hey, you're getting pretty close to your limit, you better back off. And you can set it so when it does, you're just nope, move on, do something else. But if you do that, you can't override it, but whatever. But the nice thing is still, though, you can do it as in part of the the family plan or the family sharing thing for iOS, because that will be kind of handy for parents, because if you got kids that just they're addicted to their phone or their iPad or whatever, if you're on the family, come on, there we go. If you're on the family sharing thing, and you're the controller of that plan, you can go ahead and set those things up remotely. So you can say oh, okay, after this time at night, no, you cannot use your device unless it's maybe to call an emergency. We're going to lock it down. We're going to limit you to certain types of apps, certain types of age-restricted content. Just setting all those types of parental things, you can do it kind of remotely. I can already tell that's going to piss a lot of kids off. But, it is good for parents. So, yeah, there is that. Then they also had like this do not disturb while sleeping. So they've kind of moved it on more to like, okay, let's say I get up in the middle of the night, get up to go to the bathroom or something, and I want to check the time. Well, not only do I see the time, but I see all this, all these notifications that when I was sleeping, and then you have this urge to, well, I got to check all my notifications now. So they basically, while the sleeping mode is on, you can just say, no, we're not going to do that. We're just going to show you some very basic information like the time, and we're going to hide the notifications until you actually get up and until you do whatever it is you want to do to start the day, and let them know that, okay, I can start sort of responding to these sorts of notifications for now. So that was a couple really, monitoring type of things that they're focused on their digital health, as it were, not just physical health, but their digital health, as they call it. They also are doing, but here's the ironic thing. So they're focused on don't use your device so much, da 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 da. But then they do things, they in the iPhone 10 last year they introduced this Animoji crap for the iPhone 10. And I don't know. I mean, it seems really kind of a gimmicky thing. It seems like you could, I guess young people might like it or something. I don't know, but I don't really personally care that much. That's where you can turn yourself into, you speak and then it watches your face, and you can be all these different like animals or something, or a big piece of crap, literally a big turd that talks. They introduced some more new animojis, as it were. And now you have Memojis, which basically it's kind of like copying Nintendo and their Mii's concept back in the Nintendo Wii days, or your Microsoft Avatar, that kind of a thing, or like even the Mii's, again, really the Mii's for Nintendo, like even when they had the the game got discontinued now. I did a video on it. Why can't I think of the name of that stupid game? Basically the one where you were doing Mii's and the Mii's would ask you questions and you would answer them. I went stupid and I can't think of the name of the game right now for some stupid reason. But yeah, I mean it's basically that. You look at your thing. You can choose like your face shape, and then you choose your eye, your hair color. You get accessories, a couple clothes, that kind of a thing. So yeah. And I'm guessing those things will be voiceover accessible. It'll describe, blue eyes, or, spiked hair, or, they'll give you, I'm sure that part of it will be accessible if you do want to create your own little me icon. And you can integrate those like with FaceTime, or your photos or messaging, those kinds of things. So you can kind of use those things it's expanded to be compatible with those areas. So, that's not too bad. I'm not super interested in that, but, whatever. You can be like, and like I said, they have some new ones. They've got like a ghost and a T-Rex and a tiger, and I forget like one or two other ones that you can be. Speaking of that though, they do have multi-user FaceTime now. So you can do FaceTime video and audio. And if you have a lot of people that use iOS, that actually is not a bad idea. And it seemed, from their little demo, it actually looked like it worked pretty well. You can have up to 32 users now, which is pretty crazy. And what it tries to do, you have basically, like you'll have a few little squares for people that are actively, talking, or that are highlighted for now. And then on the bottom, you have this whole kind of left to right, a whole bunch of people that you can swipe through or whatever, and it shows all the people that are currently in your conversation. And then whoever is speaking, their portrait will come to the forefront, and that's what you'll see. So, like you'll see who's talking, that kind of a thing. And so that would be really good for you, like I said, especially let's say a school or a business adopts iOS as their thing. You can use this on an iPad, you can use this on the Mac, you can use this on the phone, of course. And like I said, especially even let's say maybe even if you have some deaf users, you could benefit by that because you could also incorporate sign language. So what you could even do is, rather than having the focus be the person who's talking, you could say, no, I want you just to always focus on this person. So, that has some nice accessibility potential in some areas. So, in addition to just being convenient to be able to talk to more than one person at once. So that's kind of cool. iOS, what else? Let me pause my game here for a second and check my, let's see, what else we talked about? Sleep, we talked about that. Yeah, family sharing. I'm just kind of looking through. I'm kind of remembered a lot of the things that are on my list. Yeah, group FaceTime. Oh, they also, again, as I suspected, they focused on AR quite a bit in the beginning there, augmented reality, and this time you can have up to 4 people in one experience. So they did this demo of a couple of people playing with this little. They're partnering with Lego, so you can kind of interact with these virtual Lego. They have this little Lego City thing, and they're all these little characters, and you can put vehicles down and look inside the little buildings and stuff. I mean, it's kind of neat, I mean, that could be kind of interesting. They also had I have an app right now. I think it's called Tap Measure that I tried last year just to play with AR, and it's like a virtual tape measure, and they're just basically incorporating that into their own built-in app this fall. I forget what the app is actually called. I think it's just called Measure, I think. But yeah, I mean, it's basically you got a virtual tape measure kind of a thing, and there's a couple other tools in there. But I don't know if, again, by the nature of needing to point it exactly where you want it, like, I don't think that's necessarily going to be accessible to blind users, but low vision might be able to get at least a pretty good estimate of something. So they did demo a useful case for that. So with the multiple users, we'll see what comes out of that. And then you had like updates to a few apps, like Stocks. iBooks is now gonna be Apple Books. So like I said, they've updated the Stocks app, they updated the News app. There's maybe 1 or 2 more that I can't remember that they may have updated. So yeah, some of those are getting a facelift. Voice recorder, which that one I am actually glad about because I mean the current one it's usable, but I think that app, especially with the way that you go through and you look at the way you select the different voice memos that you've created, I think they could do a better job on that. So they are redoing that a little bit from the ground up, it sounds like. And all of these apps that I've mentioned here, the Stocks and the books and everything, all those things are coming to iPad and Mac as well. So like Stocks has never been on the iPad, or I can't remember if voice memos was or not. I always do it on my phone, but there's a couple of them that are only on the phone. They're only supported on the phone right now, but will be supported on the Mac and the iPad. So those are just some kind of minor, but some people might like those. I'm interested in the voice memos, see what they do with that. And the last major thing that I have for iOS is Siri shortcuts. Everybody, including myself, was hoping that they would talk more about they really have to improve Siri because it's getting his butt kicked, or she's getting her butt kicked by everybody else in the smart assistant arena. They really didn't say anything about her getting smarter, as far as like artificial intelligence understanding what you mean and not going, here's a web search for what you wanted. They didn't say anything about that, so I don't know if that's going to really be a thing. But what they did talk about is this Siri shortcuts, which it does sound cool in its own way, but if she's still dumb as if she still is a dingbat and doesn't do what you want it to do, then we'll see how useful it really is. But basically, what they're doing is they're taking these concept of, there's a couple of different apps that do it right now. Again, they're taking third-party apps and going, okay, we're going to try to, put you out of business and do it ourselves, I guess. Workflows is one of them. I was going to try it, and I was lazy and never got around to it. So what you can do is you can set up a key phrase. You can speak like this key phrase of whatever you want, and you can try to set up shortcuts to do what you want to do. So like you could say good night, and it would, if you had HomeKit stuff, it would like turn off your lights, lock your doors. Maybe it would set an alarm for a specific time. Maybe it would, I don't know, do a couple of other things. I could potentially accessibility to get things quicker. Maybe I could set up a phrase that says, "What is this thing?" And then I could maybe have it open up Seeing AI and jump automatically to the product category. I was joking with a coworker today. I'm like, I could say, yeah, I could set up a phrase that says, "Give me all your money," and then it would open up the the currency identifier thing. And he's like, yeah, that would be nice and awkward. You go into a bank and you want to check the money that they gave you, and so you say, "Give me all your money," to trigger your the Seeing AI or the money identifier really quickly. Like, yeah, probably wouldn't be the best idea, but you could set up your own phrases like that. So there is some potential to that. Just setting up, like, instead of having to do multiple things and go into apps and settings and control this, control that. They did say that Siri is going to try to be a little bit more like, almost like a Google Now, like, oh, I see when you get up in the morning, the first thing you do is this, or, so it'll try to give you these suggestion of things that you might want to do. So it'll give you things like that. Or if like, oh, this time you go to work, or you're here. The example they gave is like, oh, when I go to work every morning, I order the same cup of coffee. Everyone's just the Starbucks fiend right nowadays. Not me, but hey, whatever. But yeah, so they said, okay, this is what you want. Do you want your usual? And then, boom, they got it on the reserve, and then on their way to work, they can just swing in and pick it up. So there are some useful cases for that. Again, my major thing is I like all these kind of ideas. They might be neat, but I just want to know that Siri is actually going to get better. I mean, as far as intelligence, as far as dictation, like I said, I still think since iOS 10, I'm convinced that iOS 11 dictation's actually gotten worse. And it's actually the accuracy is better on the watch than it is on the phone. And explain that one to me. I don't know. I mean, especially when the dictation used to be better on the phone. I don't know. I don't get it. No idea. No idea whatsoever. But that's some stuff about Siri. And all these are also coming to iPad and the Mac, so you can do like Siri work. I want to call them workflows, Siri shortcuts. So you can do those kinds of things, and they are going to have several pre-made ones. Like if you say, "Oh yeah, I could use a shortcut to do that," so they may have, I go to work at the same time, and I want to listen to my same podcast every Wednesday morning, or I want to listen to the news when I do this certain thing at a certain time of day, those types of things. So you have that kind of stuff with Siri. And that's pretty much iOS. And what in the heck? I think my little objectives here on the right-hand side, yeah. How did I miss? Apparently I didn't fully paint something to get it perfect. Boo. Okay, let me look around. Anyway, so speaking of Watch OS, they didn't say too much about that. They did mention, like, they gave a story about how it actually saved some person's life. There's a guy and his wife in a boat, and the guy's muscles like kind of froze up or something. He fell in the lake. She couldn't get him out, but she was able to use her watch, call 911, and just, still kind of keep him surface so he didn't drown. And it literally saved his life. And, that's awesome. That's amazing. That's really cool to hear. And then they talked a lot about, of course, they're really focused on fitness and that kind of a thing. So there's new workouts for like yoga and running improvements and things like that. The one thing that's kind of cool is that it can anticipate, or it can recognize when you start doing an exercise. Let's say you want to log a run or some other, maybe weightlifting or some other activity, and you're like, oh crap, swimming, and I forgot to turn it on. It'll say, oh hey, looks like you're starting to do this. Do you want to count that? And it'll actually, if you tell it yeah, you can retroactively get credit for when you started. So it's like, crap, well, I did it for 2 minutes already, but I forgot to do it. But it says, oh yeah, you've been doing that for that 2 minutes, so well, yeah, we'll give you credit for that. So if you're into fitness and stuff like that, that should be a helpful feature. They are adding, the one that I kind of like is they're adding WebKit to the watch, so that you can actually, you get a tweet or you get an email or something, you get a notification. You're not going to look at web pages on this thing, but like, oh, there's just a quick little article, or maybe there's an HTML content with like a tracking number, or there's some little bit of information that you just need to get the gist of, and so you can load simple like HTML content on your watch screen. And especially if you're using VoiceOver, I don't have to care that screen is super small. I'll still be able to read it, so that is actually nice. One disappointment that I have is that they didn't say anything about, I was hearing some things early on, maybe a month or two ago, about what they would call Stream Kit. One of the reasons I bought the cellular version of Watch, the 3rd edition of the Watch, is because I thought, oh, well, hey, if Google or Amazon or whoever decides that, or Audible decides, hey, we would like to allow you to stream your music library, not just iTunes, but like you could stream our library through the watch. So if I want to go out for a walk, I don't want to take my phone, I could just pair up with my Bluetooth headset and go. Well, you can't do that right now, unfortunately. Aha, there's some stuff I missed. Oh, there we go. Haha, now we're going to get it. Yeah. All right, now I think I got this room business painted. No, not yet. Wow. What else did I miss? Oh, there we go. Anyway, and now I just went stupid. Now I just forgot what I was talking about. Oh, the streaming. So they were talking about some Stream Kit thing, that would allow more third parties to access like the LTE things and do tasks natively on the watch, and not always have to be as a companion to the phone. And originally that's why I bought the LTE version, the cellular version of the watch, because I'm like, I wouldn't mind doing that, especially when it's nice out during the summer. I could just go walk around. You encourage me to get off my ass and go outside when it's not sweltering, maybe in the evenings or something, and go for a walk more often. Or when I walk to the store, I don't have to take my phone. I can pay with my watch with Apple Pay if it's supported. I could listen to a podcast or music or something. Now they did say that they do have support for the native podcasts, Apple's podcast app in watchOS 5, so I could use that. Now I haven't looked at that app in a while. I don't know what it like. I know you can speed it up to some degree. I don't think you can speed it up as much as as much as you can Voice Dream Reader. But if I'm out if I'm out somewhere and like I really did want to listen to a podcast, I guess I could do that. But it is a shame that I didn't hear more about being able to stream, or not just stream, but like even using Twitter. Like I want to be able to do more things with Twitter right on my watch if I use VoiceOver and I get a notification. They did also say though that through the notifications themselves, you're going to be able to interact with them. So maybe, you know, like if I get, let's say maybe I do get a Twitter notification, maybe I will be able to retweet it or like it, or maybe I can try to dictate a short reply. So maybe there is some potential. So you may not have to necessarily have a full-fledged app to interact with some of those things. Like the developers won't necessarily have to build an app, but as long as they support some of these smart interactions with the notifications, yeah, boom, you can do that better. Speaking of notifications, I did forget to mention in iOS, they are giving you grouped notifications finally. So yeah, you can organize them by type or by whatever, a few different other criteria, and you can disable it too if you want to. But the fact, I know a lot of people have been wanting grouped notifications, so they are trying to do some stuff with that, which is good. Watch OS, like I said, a lot of fitness stuff, the notifications, the Siri stuff. Again, like I said, a lot of that stuff is also coming to Watch OS. Let me check my handy dandy notes, see if I forgot anything. Oh, there's a photo. There's like a For You tab on the Photos thing for iOS as well that I forgot to mention. Watch to see, did I miss anything else? Automatic. Detect. Oh, walkie-talkies, yes. It gives me horrible flashbacks to, remember in like the mid-2000s where you had those, what were they, those Nextel phones where you had people using those, you'd hit her this, and then you'd hear just this distorted people just saying the most awful things and private things in public. This is super loud. I freaking hated those phones, and I'm so glad they went away. But apparently now, yes, between watches, you can do this walkie-talkie feature where like you hold down a button or something, you hold down or you tap and hold on the screen or something, and then you can like talk back and forth for a few seconds via like a walkie-talkie, old school walkie-talkie. I mean, it might have its uses. That might be fine, but like I said, I'm just picturing those awful. I think they were Nextel, but you know those stupid phones are like, and then people would talk. And like, I used to hear those things in public constantly, especially when I was on like public transportation on the bus, because the people who use those things were always just like the worst. That was the problem with it. It wasn't that necessarily the technology was bad, but the people who used it were just awful. Ugh. So yeah, hopefully that doesn't come back. I'm hoping that. Oh, and a better Siri face. Yeah, so third parties will be able to integrate with the Siri watch face, which might actually get me to use it a little bit more. Right now, I'm just using, like I said, the ginormous. All it does is show me the time because I can just literally lift up my watch and see it's 7:21 p.m. right now. But hey, if I always wanted to have some specific bit of information other than what Siri would originally let me, I could maybe do it. So, you know, that's a good watch feature. I'm okay with that. That is really about it about the watch. As far as Mac OS goes, they are going to call the new Mac OS Mojave. No, it's Mojave, as in the desert, yes. It's just spelled weird, so I just Mojave. But yeah, Mojave, that's their new location apparently that they're going to do. Again, they're giving them a dark mode. Lucky people. Bring it to iOS already. Come on, people. Come on, Apple, get it right. They're getting desktop stacks, so basically you can like if you have a really cluttered desktop, you can basically organize things into different categories and stacks and things. Admittedly, during this part of the presentation, I was kind of doing other things at work, so I was sort of casually zoning in and out a little bit, but I was doing some other stuff at work. And again, you know, I don't use the Mac personally myself, other than like I'll use it for work a little bit if I'm showing it to somebody, and you know, I might have to help with a couple things. I mean, I can kind of get around the Mac okay with the basics, but I don't know a lot of the, really quick keyboard shortcuts and things like that. They'll just instantly jump you to a section, but I can get around okay. So that's another thing that they did. Again, some of those other things I talked about on iOS are also coming to the Mac, like the Siri stuff, some of the app and app updates. Not this year, but next year they're saying that developers are going to be able to basically bring some of their iOS apps. They're not merging iOS and Mac, or so they say, but basically they're saying that, oh yeah, we're going to allow developers to bring their Macs into, or in their iOS apps into the Mac. So I don't know what form that's really going to take, but that might be cool. Maybe if you could get KNFB Reader, maybe you hook up a scanner or a document camera, because I don't believe KNFB Reader yet exists for the Mac like it does in Windows 10 right now. And of course, speaking of the apps, they are revamping their App Store yet again, so there's some new design for that. There's some new Finder thing, like basically there's this mode where it shows you all the files along the bottom in this horizontal view, and then on the main part of the window it just shows you like a snapshot of the file. So as you're arrowing through or you're clicking through, you'll see like, oh, here's all these PDF files, and you can just kind of glance at them if you have vision. You can glance up and say, oh, that's what this file looks like. I mean, it's probably for people that like don't name their files properly the way they should, and so like, oh, I don't know what this file was. Or if you have different iterations of the same file, you can kind of look at the differences and go, oh, this is the one that I wanted. So there's that kind of a thing. What else is there? Some iOS apps are coming. I already mentioned that. That's pretty much it. And then to wrap things up, I'll talk a tiny bit, just like they did, tiny bit about Apple TV and tvOS. What is it, 5 or what? I don't remember. But the next tvOS. Not a whole lot coming to that, but they did mention they're supporting Dolby Atmos, which is good. It's, if you have a soundbar or other device that supports, I keep thinking Adobe Atmos, but it's not. It's Dolby Atmos. It's an audio codec thingy or whatever. So they're supporting that. They are also, if you are using your home network, you don't have to sign into your apps. It'll be like, oh, okay, you're on your home Comcast network or whatever. I think it's only starting with a different network. I forget which one they're starting with, but they said it's going to roll out to other ones. So, like, remember, like, you always had to go and if you're signing up for a third-party service, like, oh, I want to use my HBO app, or I want to use this thing, but I got to go enter this code that I see on the screen or whatever. You aren't going to have to do that anymore. If you're on your home network. So let's say that I subscribe to this certain package through my TV provider, and then if I get Showtime, HBO, or any other premium networks or something, it'll just go, oh, okay, you have access to these. And so when I log into those apps, it'll just like, okay, here you go. You're good. You don't even have to sign in. It just knows that they're yours. Now, what I don't know is, let's say that you sign into them at home, and then let's say you go on a business trip. Maybe I got to stay in a hotel for a night while I'm doing a business trip, but my favorite show is on. Because I've authenticated at home, and it knows that I have access to that, at least for a short period of time. I understand if you can't do it for a long period of time, but let's say even a few days, let's say a week, could I then not have to log in or worry about anything? Could I do that if I were in that hotel? Would I have to then log in, or would it remember even though I'm not on my home network technically? That's the one question that I had about that. So anyway, that is pretty much it. And like I said, it was kind of underwhelming in a way. I mean, yeah, I always want some kind of cool feature to latch onto. I mean, I suppose the multi-user FaceTime is pretty cool. I will say, though, if they're focused on fixing bugs and improving performance, that is A-okay with me, because as much as I still like iOS, there are definitely some issues. I was like, would you stop it? So I've had, if they're working on that kind of a thing, you know what? I'm good with that. Let's focus on that and get it right. And hopefully, again, I wish they would have learned when they did iOS 10. I wish they would have learned and not had to do this again for iOS 12, but I really wish that if they do this for iOS 12, then let's say iOS 13, 14, 15 comes along, keep that same mantra going and just do something. Like, keep your, make sure that your apps work. Make sure that get rid of the bugs so that you don't have to take a year and go, I guess we better fix everything again. So hopefully they learn the second time around and just kind of keep that philosophy going forward. So yeah, hopefully that. Now I did read a couple other things since then. The couple things that I did get from people installing the developer beta. You can get the betas if you are a developer. You pay the $99 fee. Again, please don't do this if you're not a developer or you're not a really geek and you don't have. If you only have one major iOS device, don't put it on your primary device. It's a beta. It's going to be buggy. It can crash. VoiceOver may or may not work with certain things. Who knows? But it's a beta. It's expected to be buggy to a degree, at least especially in the beginning. But I've heard a couple things about the beta. They found that they're probably, big surprise. They're probably going to come out with another iPad this fall, but it's probably going to get rid of the home button. It's probably going to go the iPhone 10 route. So regardless, on the iPad, it sounds like basically they're going to on the iPad they have the app switcher is its own thing. And the control center is no longer together with that on the iPad anymore. Instead, you're going to swipe down from the upper right, just like you would on the iPhone 10. So if you swipe down from the upper left, you're going to get your notifications. You swipe down from the upper right, you're going to get your control center. So they're kind of really pushing that all touch gesture thing. And of course, they're probably going to have Face ID, which probably, unfortunately, means they're going to have the notch. They're going to have the notch, more than likely. But, unfortunately, it's just something that eventually, as our devices get older, we're just going to have to face it anyway. I keep hoping that they'll have some sort of, I know people are working on under-the-screen, Touch ID sort of a thing, fingerprint ID. Because, Face ID is interesting in a way, but, partly as a low vision or a blind or low vision user, it's just nice that you don't have to look at it, or it's just convenient. Even if you're fully sighted, let's say that you just need to, your phone is on the desk and I just reach over, I hit, even if it's not a hardware button, the iPhone 7 and 8, they're just these haptic parts of, virtual home buttons. I love that. I can just reach over, I can use my Touch ID, I can turn VoiceOver on. I can touch something. I can play or pause my media. I can, quick check a notification. I can tap the notification. If it's the dead of winter and I have my headphones on, I can reach in my pocket and keep my hands in my pocket, keep them warm, and I don't have to look at the phone. I can just use the touchscreen from within my coat pocket. It's great. Face ID, you can't do that. I guess I could enter a code or a PIN every time, I guess, but I don't really want to do that. But anyway, enough babbling. That is my thoughts on WWDC. Again, please let me know if you have some of those magnifier apps that you use on Android or iOS or both. Let me know what you use. Let me know what's the clearest. Let me know what your favorites are. I will give them a peek, and I will kind of give you an update on my current project and this hardware review, this stand, as time goes on here in the next probably few weeks. So, yeah, let me know on that, and hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like I said, there's a lot more to come. Next week is E3, so we're going to be doing at least a couple of videos. All the conferences start on Saturday, so I'll probably getting one out Saturday or Sunday, probably do one Monday, maybe two. Like, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but there'll be probably 2 or 3 videos for E3 because it's, you know, hey, it's games, man. That's what this channel is about, games and tech, and I'm sure I'll have plenty of thoughts. And again, you know, later this month, join me on Blind Bargains. I'll let you know. Again, follow me on Twitter at BGFH79. I will announce and probably have the link as well for the. I will have a link to the podcast when I know that it's out. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. And like I said, do all the usual. Like and subscribe. Keep them coming. Follow me on Twitter at BGFH79. You can follow me on Mixer, mixer.com/BGFH. And hope you guys enjoyed the video. And until next time, I will talk to you guys again later.